Today we are talking about Parsing Json review. We've parsed JSON many times throughout this curriculum, starting from Unit 3, if I recall, where we started doing networking. We started parsing JSON by doing local JSON parsing, and from local JSON parsing, we went into parsing actual web API services. So today we want to review parsing JSON and how there's different JSON structures that we could encounter, and they might be different in the way we parse them. So just our objective, again, this could be a multi-part lesson, but our objective is we know what JSON is, we see different JSON structures, and at the end of the day, there's only two structures that JSON could be structured in. There's a dictionary structure, or there's an array structure. That's the two structures supported by JSON. We'll be parsing JSON using playgrounds. That's a good way to quickly test, does that JSON work with that model I'm creating? We'll also write a unit test or revisit writing a unit test to validate if my JSON Swift model is correct. Along the way, we'll also revisit, again, parsing JSON locally using the bundle class. And lastly, we'll go through parsing JSON using URL session, because we've been using network helper or whatever wrapper for a while, but now we want to revisit how to do it natively. All what we'll be doing here is natively, but it will give us a repo to work with. All the work we'll be doing, we'll be getting a repo to work with to go back and say, hey, this is how I do X in JSON, this is how I do Y in JSON. So as we get in code challenges, if there's a format or some structure that we are not too familiar with, we could review back to these notes that we're discussing today. Some of the examples of JSON that we encounter, and this is class participation, so I'll be looking for people to jump in and tell me what structure this is. For example, example 1 here, we have a JSON structure here. Anybody want to tell me what the top level data structure is? Is it an array or is it a dictionary?
Dictionary.
Dictionary.
So I heard arrays, I heard dictionaries, right? So the minute we see this curly bracket here, that signifies that it's a dictionary. So the top level here is a dictionary, and the key we're looking at is results. So the results is an array. Somebody else said array earlier, but first the top level is going to be a dictionary, and then we'll be using this results key. And the results key actually has an array of, in that case, contacts. Let's just call it contacts. So the results would be the top wrapper. I could call the thing results wrapper. And then in that results wrapper, there's a results property, and that is an array of contacts.
I have a question.
So, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I usually get mixed up with this. So I get that the top level, because it's a curly bracket, that makes it a dictionary. But is there usually an instance where there's a I don't know whatever the results is there an instance where there's something outside of that? Okay, so you just look at the top one, basically. That's how you find out.
Yeah, you look at the top level JSONs, the first bracket in the JSON, that's what you look at.
Okay.
In that example, the first bracket is a curly bracket.
Which makes it a dictionary.
Yes. Now, if I want to see what results has, results itself is an array of stuff, because I have the square bracket now.
Okay.
Cool? Very good.
Alex, will you be sharing this?
Yes, I'll be sharing this as we conclude the lesson.
Okay.
Yep. And I actually made a cheat sheet already from this, so I'll share the cheat sheet once I'm done. Because the cheat sheet will give us basic structures that we could just go back to. Is that fair?
Yeah, sure. I was just taking notes. That's why I wanted to reference this.
Okay. So next up we have, yes, so if I look at the solution here, if we were to, we said the root level is a dictionary, very good. And if we were to call the top level a contacts wrapper, like we have here, then this would be the dictionary object here. And in my dictionary object, if I was to say, hey, what is the array? That would be a contacts array, or whatever the property I want to call it. Great. Any questions before we move on to the next example? Chelsea? Does that clear up your question earlier about the top level structure?
So that makes example 2 an array top level?
Yes, very good. So if we have to go to example 2 here, that makes it an array, because the first bracket I'm encountering in my JSON is a square bracket. Okay, now the square bracket is an array, as Chelsea said. This is an array here. if I was to decode it using JSON decoder, my weather, if I call this model a weather model, then the weather would be an array. In that case, we only have one object. That's okay, but it's still an array of weather objects. Okay. Now, those two examples, we've seen that like throughout the course. Most likely you hit like the Yelp API or some weather API, whatever like well-structured API, you get it in one of those formats. You get an array or you get a dictionary. Most likely you'll get a dictionary, but you'll come across arrays as well. Great. But once in a while, you'll come across some API like this, where the JSON looks like this, right? Where you have multiple keys. Here I have AFPAC, I have African, and it goes on. Every key is different, right? So what's the top level here?
Dictionary.
It's a dictionary. Very good. It's a dictionary. But I can't just say AFPAC as the results or whatever, because I have multiple keys here. So that becomes a bit more complex to parse. But the way we'll parse this, all those examples, we'll actually do them in playgrounds as well. I'm just going through them right now. We'll actually take those examples and do them. This is a dictionary, as you mentioned earlier. But the way we'll be doing the top level object is saying a dictionary object where the key is a string. In that case, the key here, string, is African. Everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so the key represents a string, and the object, I'll take this entire object here. I'll just highlight this entire object. I think I'm right there. Yes. This entire object will be my codable object. I could call it whatever name I want. Let's just call it strain. So strain would have an ID, a race, flavors, effects, etc. And then the way I'll parse this JSON is say my top level is a dictionary object, as in Swift, where the key is a string and the value is a strain. And when I'm parsing through this dictionary object here, I get back a dictionary. I use a for loop, or I could simply map it. I use a for loop, and I'm constructing here strain objects, and I'm inserting them in my strains array. And now I have a completed array of strains from that particular JSON here. So if you come across a JSON where you have multiple keys, this is the way I would parse it. Key value, where the value is the object, and where the key is this varied amount of keys, AFPAC, string, African, doesn't really matter. But here, the key part of this decoding is setting up your dictionary such that the key is a string, which is fine, it's gonna parse correctly, and the object itself is the strain, the object that you created from the codable, where you make your property, where you make your model conform to decodable or codable. So this strain would come from that particular property. Any questions here? Because this is a bit more, not that popular, but it does come up. Not the best API to work with, but it does come up once in a while. Any questions about this particular example? And we will.
I've got one question just as to why aren't we using like the shared instance on URL session?
In the example we'll be doing, we are using the shared instance, which is a singleton.
Okay.
Yes, in the example we'll be doing where we parse URL session, we'll be using the shared instance. You use the shared instance if you do not want to configure anything else upon URL session. But if you are okay using the default session, you could simply use URL session.shared.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you want to add extra configurations on the class URL session, then you'd go ahead and say URL session and set up the configuration. But if you're not doing anything with configuration, it's totally okay to use URL session.shared, which is a singleton instance.
Okay, cool.
Very good. Any questions about example 3? Example 3 could be a bit of a headache if you like, oh my God, I have multiple keys here. How do I parse this? All right. Going on to example 4, which we've done in class before. Top level, what's the top level here? Oscar?
A dictionary.
It's a dictionary, right? Because we have our curly bracket. That's the first time we encounter JSON here. We have a curly bracket. This is a dictionary. And the same familiar, we have our results here. And results is a?
Looks like an array.
It's an array. It's an array of, in that case, what do we have here? Looks like person. This is the random user API. So here we could just call it a person, or we could call it a random user. But each object would be a user or a person, whatever we want to call it. It's just a results array of person or people, whatever you want to call it. But we have one little problem here. If I look at my postcode, where's postcode? If I look at postcode here, what data type is postcode? Luba?
It's a string.
It's a string. Very good. If I was to look at postcode,
And then it's
and postcode here is
the int.
it's an int. So if we try to parse this as an int, what's going to happen? May?
Crash.
Well, yes, it's going to crash.
It's going to crash saying it's a decoding error. You're trying to parse an int and expected an int but found a string or something like that, or expected a string and found an int, right?
Yep.
Very good. So here, if we come across this particular example, as we did in class, what you have to do, did I have the example here? Yes, I did. So what we did in class was we created an enum called postcode, where the type postcode is not an int, it's a type postcode. But we went to override the init with coder, and we said, if you are an integer here, go ahead and set integer value, whatever that is. If you're a string, go ahead and set up the string value. If it was a Boolean, same thing. Like, for example, if for some god reason, like there's an int, or it could be a string, or it could be a Boolean value, then you'd have to have one more if statement saying, if Boolean value do this. But what we do, we say it's either an integer or it's a string. If it's not one of those two, then just go ahead and throw an error, okay? But again, if the API is that bad that it has 3, 4 values, you'd have to have cases for those. And again, that's not the best API, but that's what you have. And we have to know how to deal with those APIs. So those are the 4 examples we'll go through in the lesson. And we'll start off by parsing them using Swift Playgrounds, where we have our multi-line string literal, where we change it to a data type, and we use our JSON decoder, and we convert the data type into our objects in Swift. So we'll be actually using Swift Playgrounds first. So at the end of this, we'll be familiar again back with Swift Playgrounds, because I see some people sometimes go into a project right away. But it's easier to just go into Swift Playgrounds or write a unit test, test out your model, test out your JSON before you like go through like all the UI of the project. Model first, and then you could go into the UI and everything like that. So that's where we're gonna start off. And I'll share this again. We'll be working with it, but I'll share the resources at the end of today's lecture. Any questions before we get started? Any questions? Okay. So first off, we'll parse the first example. Let me slack it out. Let's go to Xcode, and we'll create a playgrounds. So navigate to Xcode and create a playground. It's blank playground. And I'll save it to, actually, what should we do here? Because I want you guys to push that up to your GitHub accounts. So cancel this for now. Cancel. Cancel, and let's all do this together, because I want to make sure you guys push this to GitHub. Go to GitHub. Is everybody on GitHub?
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Getting there. Very good. Go to GitHub. And we want to create a new repo. If you want to create a new repo, that's a quick way to create it, by the way. You could just do repo.new. And that takes you to the repository. And here I'll create Parsing Json that exists. Okay, that's good. Parsing Json that exists here. It's public. I'm going to initialize a README. I'm working with Swift, so I will add Swift get ignore. Just going to create MIT license, and description I will put parsing JSON review, then playgrounds, using unit test, and displaying. Lastly, we'll displaying in a table view. Right. Most times you get a challenge. It's like get some JSON, put it in the table view. Right. But before that, we'll do playgrounds, we'll do unit tests before we actually do the whole UI part of this. All right, so public, and then I'll create my repository. This is my repository. I'll go ahead and clone it. I'll clone it to my desktop. Clone. Get cloned. And I'll navigate inside of my Parsing Json repo. There's nothing in here right now. And this is where I'm going to save my playgrounds. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back to Xcode. Back to Xcode, back to playgrounds. And let's save our blank project. Let's just call this parsing, playing with JSON. What's about that? It's going to be in the folder, so that's okay. Navigate to where you saved your, or where you cloned your project. Mine is on my desktop. It's called Parsing JSON. Where is it?
Wait, what did you do with the terminal after you cloned it? Did you do anything else in there?
With the terminal after I cloned it.
I'm assuming you navigated to desktop.
I navigated to it. Right now I'm inside of the project, the clone project.
Okay, so you're in the project?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't do anything else in there. Very good. All right, so where is my Parsing JSON? Right here. And I'll just call this plain JSON. Great. Great. Before we do anything else, let's just make sure we push this to GitHub. Again, everything you do, try to push to GitHub so your GitHub is always active. Get status for people that don't have this shortcut here. So here we have our playing with JSON playgrounds ready to go. Does everybody have this before I continue?
Just a second.
Wait a second, please.
What did you do? Get status?
Yeah, just get status to make sure that your playgrounds is in here.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So let us add everything here. And the reason why I'm adding everything, I'm working on my own repo. And here we have nothing else. So we just get add everything, get add dot. And we'll give it a commit message. I'll just say added playgrounds. And I'll get push. Great, so we want to confirm on GitHub that it's there. I'll refresh my page. And indeed, I have my playgrounds file. In contents, there's nothing there, just hello world. So far, so good?
Yep.
All right, very good. So I did slack out the first example, which we'll be doing. What should we call this one? This one's just a dictionary. So that's fine. Navigate back to Playgrounds and open up your side, open up your left pane. You open up the left pane of Playgrounds by clicking on the first right tab after the plus sign. Do everybody see the drawer open up?
Yeah.
All right. So
What did you do?
so at the top right, you see the three buttons here.
Yeah.
So click on the one that says Show Navigator. So that's going to hide and show the navigator.
Okay.
And when the navigator opens up, what we'll do is create a new page. So right click, do you see where it says Playing with JSON?
Mm-hmm.
Right click on it. Do you see where it says New Playground Page?
Yeah.
Click on it. It's going to create, that's a little bug. It creates multiple ones. That's okay. Just click once on where it says Untitled Page. Click once on that. So you could change the name of it. And the name of this one, we'll call it Parsing Dictionary. That's okay. And if there's an extra one that says Untitled Page, for now you could just delete it. So just make sure you have one that says Parsing Dictionary. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just verify one thing. Just put a comment saying Parsing Dictionary. Just like that, one comment. Because I really want us to use this as a resource as we keep job hunting. So I want to make sure that we push everything that we're working on to our GitHub page. So put a comment says Parsing Dictionary. The playground page is called Parsing Dictionary. And go to terminal. If you do get status, you should now see you have all the things to stage. You have your new page called Parsing Dictionary. Just go ahead and add everything. Commit. Here I'll just say added dictionary page and push. Okay, navigate back to GitHub and verify that you do have the page. Click on your Playing with JSON playground, the folder. Click on Pages, click on Contents, and you should see Parsing Dictionary here. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
All right, very good. So now we could continue on. All right. So right here, let's start writing our JSON out. So here we'll just say JSON equal to triple quotes for multi-literal string. And we want to, I slacked out the sample, the first example we're going to be using. I slacked it out. The first example, if I have to go back to my notes here, the first example, this example, we'll actually be parsing that and create a model using Swift Playgrounds. So go ahead and copy the JSON and just paste it in here. So now we have our multi-line literal string. What else we have to do? We have to convert this to data, correct? Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay, how do we convert this to data?
Data?
Data. But data is not coming up. Why isn't data coming up?
I remember it had something to do with UTF off the top of my head.
UTF, yeah, there's a UTF, but the function is not coming up though. Anything we're missing here?
Import UI key.
Import UI key to import foundation. Very good. All right. Import foundation. Let's try that again. Data. It came back. Very good. Very good. Now, Greg says we could use the UTF format, UTF-8 format, which is the most standard format here for this. And we'll just use an exclamation mark because we know we have data here. And this is going to be optional if we don't unwrap it. So we just implicitly unwrap it right away. So now we have data. We could go on and create our model.
Alex, can you zoom in a bit, please?
Zoom in, you said?
Like make the words bigger a little bit, please.
I was trying to avoid it, but it's okay. Let's make it bigger. There we go. Good. All right. I was trying to avoid it until I couldn't anymore. All right, so we have our JSON here. We have our data here. Let's go ahead and, so this is the JSON data. Next up, let's create some models. Create model or models, either or here. So we said this is a dictionary at the very top. We'll just call this results wrapper for now, the object. Results wrapper. What am I missing here? What does results wrapper have to conform to?
Codable.
Codable. It could conform to codable or
Encodable.
that would be decodable, right?
Yeah.
All right, very good. So since this is review, let's see what that looks like. So we have codable protocol, codable. So codable is an alias, and it has both decodable and encodable. Okay. What does decodable do?
It reads the JSON that we're retrieving, right?
Right. So it converts the JSON data. What does encodable do?
It turns it into JSON.
Very good. Encodable converts JSON to example post to a web API. Awesome. So here we could just simply use decodable for now. That's okay because we're not encoding anything. So it could be explicit here. That's okay. And it's also okay to just do codable as well. So what do we have here? Anybody want to tell me what I'm putting into our results wrapper? Since this is the top level, what am I putting into our results wrapper here?
Dictionary.
What's the property?
That results.
Results. And results is what type?
Dictionary. A dictionary of string and string.
So this is results. It's an array, right? Very good. It's an array because I see my square bracket, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so it's an array of stuff. The stuff we don't know yet because we haven't created it. But for now, we know it's going to be an array of, we'll call it contacts. But okay, so it's an array of contacts. We don't have contacts yet. We'll create that. Contact also needs to conform to decodable. And somebody else, help me to continue writing our contact model.
It needs a property for first name and last name.
Okay, so first name is what data type?
String.
What?
String.
String, very good. And also last name is a string. Awesome. So it looks like we are good with our models because this is the top, again, I'll put top level here. Top level JSON is a dictionary. Now let's go on to, we created our models already. Let me actually, you could format your code. Again, this that we're doing right here, the best that you could do to document it, the easier it's gonna be for you to come back to it. As opposed to going to an entire Xcode project, you go into one playground to see, hey, I'm working with a dictionary, this is what I need to do. So create models, and next we'll go ahead and decode. So decode JSON. to our Swift model. Okay, so here we'll say we'll just call it dictionary equal to JSON decoder is going to throw an error. So we have to have a try here. Actually, let me just wrap it in a do try. Do catch, sorry. So here we could throw an error. So we have it in a do catch. If in case we do throw an error, it's caught in the catch block. So here I'll say let dictionary equal to try JSON decoder dot decode, and the type, what type am I putting in here? Anybody? Jocelyn? Yeah, go ahead. I could barely hear you though. Go ahead.
You're putting in the struct.
So which one? It would be results wrapper, right? That's the top level.
Okay.
Yeah, so always remember you start off with the top level. That's what you have. That's the top level JSON. That's the model you have to put in there.
Okay.
Very good. If you put contact wrapper, it is going to throw you an error saying expected dictionary but found array or whatever it is.
I see.
Okay, so you have to always go for the top level. In that case, if we look at our JSON here, the top level is a dictionary, and that dictionary has our results key. Because if you do contacts, it's not going to find results, and it will throw an error. Cool? All right, so here we'll start off with our contacts. No, what do I call it then? Contacts, results wrapper, .self, and here we'll say JSON. Okay, at this point, we should just have a warning. We shouldn't have any errors. Everybody's good?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So here we have our dictionary object, and we'll just print an error here. If we have an error, we'll simply say decoding error, and we'll just put the error here, like that. And here we'll just simply, what should we do here? We'll say let contacts equal to dictionary.results. So this is an array of contacts. This is what we're after. Now we could just use dump and say dump all my contacts and see what we have. Again, we're just simply testing, are we able to parse the JSON? Is our model working? Our model is working. Now we could just grab our model and put it into any Xcode project we're working with. So,
Alex,
yes.
Did you unwrap the JSON anywhere? Because I'm getting an
Yes,
error.
I did. Yes. We use an exclamation mark right here.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. So now we should be able to run our playgrounds and get some data. So at this point, we should have two elements. We have John Appleseed, and we have yours truly. Does everybody have that in their console?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. What was that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, very good, very good. So here, that gave us a quick review on how to parse JSON in Swift Playgrounds. We'll go ahead with all the other examples. I'll probably leave we'll do the second example now. Yeah, cool. So this is the first example. Let's actually go ahead and push that to GitHub. So go to your terminal. Let me clear my terminal so we could see. In my project, I do get status.
It's going to be so dark today.
What's that?
Our GitHub is going to be so dark today.
Yes, it's going to be dark green. So here, let's just go ahead and add everything we've worked on and give it a commit message. And here I'll simply say completed or parsed or successfully parsed contacts dictionary. That's fine. And push. And what we want to do is verify that our work is there. Let's go to GitHub and go to our project, refresh, and verify that your work is here. So if you go outside, if you go to the top level of your project, you click on your playgrounds, you click on pages, you have contents here, and in contents, you have your completed playgrounds. Cool? Good? Everybody confirmed?
Yeah.
All right, good. So just get in the habit of doing that same thing that we're doing as you guys work on reviewing or working on a side project or whatever it is. And we could go one step further. We could just put what the results are on 52 in a comment like that. So just a dump of what the things are. Great. Let's go to example 2. Let me send that out. Feel free to jump ahead if you are comfortable already, but let's go to example 2 together. And example 2 is this. I just slacked it out, but this is what example 2 looks like. Where's the solution? This is what example 2 looks like.
We're creating a new page for this, right?
Yes, we'll create a new page and we'll call it Parsing Array. So go back to your navigator, right click, new playground page, click once on Untitled page so you could edit it and just call it Parsing Array. Great. And here we're going through the same example we went through earlier. We'll create our JSON. Actually, let's import foundation. Don't forget that one. Import foundation, JSON data, let JSON equal to multi-line string data. Doesn't see the data yet. That's okay. Put the data in. Data. Still doesn't see it. What's happening? Foundation. Data. Is anybody getting the data autocomplete happening?
Yeah, I am.
What's that?
Mine is coming up.
Let me just close Xcode for a second and reopen.
So Alex, usually when that happens, if you click on another one of the other pages and come back, it works. I don't know why this does that, but
Playgrounds is playgrounds. It's great when it works and it's not when it's not. Okay, so there we go. Data, UTF-8. Don't forget to put your exclamation mark here. So we have our JSON data, and somebody's going to tell me what to type in next. I am about to create some model. You could even give me the model name if you want. Create models or models. It's up to us here. Where's my participant list? Mr. Eric Wijaja. Yes, sir. You could give us the, what's the next step here in the process? We want to parse this JSON structure into Swift models.
You create a struct.
Create a struct.
We can call it cities.
Cities, you said?
City, yeah.
Okay, so I'll call it city.
And then because it's an array, so we can it's a dictionary. You need to put we need to put codable on that one.
Okay.
Next
codable.
to the city.
Okay, so it's conforming to codable.
And the properties are a dictionary.
A dictionary. So here we have an array, and this is the actual object. So here we'll start off by saying let title equal to some string, well, not iOS info, but some string like that. And then we'll continue saying what location type is, the who ID, and the lat long. Cool?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Awesome. Everybody on board with me here?
Yes.
Any questions? Questions? Comments? Okay, let's continue. So we have location type is a string. We have who ID is, what's the data type here?
Integer.
Integer. And we have lat long is a string. A little almost got me there for a second. But also a string. All right, but is that code we're gonna submit to an employer?
No.
Why?
Because you're gonna make us do that coding keys. There you go.
Coding keys, yes, because this is not Swifty names here. Those are not Swifty names, right? We're not doing snake case here. So let's go ahead and convert. Let's use some coding keys here. So we'll say private enum coding string coding keys. And I did something wrong here. Coding keys, coding key. And what do we want to convert? So here we'll say case title. We'll keep the title the same. We agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll make location type camel case. And here we'll say you have to provide the actual name as it appears in the JSON. Next, we'll say we'll keep this the same. And lastly, we'll change this to, we could just make it coordinate. Is coordinate okay?
Yes.
All right, cool. And here we'll say that. Is it happy? Almost? Why is it not happy? Oh, why is it not happy? Why is the compiler complaining?
We have to do coding keys into decodable. No. Type city does not confirm the protocol.
Mr. One, why is the compiler complaining?
Has to do something with decodable.
Yeah, it has to do something with decodable. It's not happy about something. The city does not conform to decodable. City does not conform to protocol decodable.
That would mean like something it's using. You don't convert an enum to codable, do you?
Don't convert an enum to codable. Well, what are we doing here is we're changing the names because we're not happy about lat long, right?
Right.
So we're changing the name to coordinate. But what does Swift see now? Swift sees coordinate, but it's confused because lat long is not seeing that, right? So if we change the name here, we have to also make the name be consistent here as well.
Coordinate.
And also here.
Oh, okay, so you just gotta actually apply the names.
Yeah, be very careful here because I've seen that, right? So here, maybe I should actually leave that I'll leave it as a comment. So that's long. And here, remember, I just leave a comment or something here. Reminder. Property, well, once property names are changed, then must match as, they must match identically to the case type. All right, so I'll leave that here as like some reminders, and then let's fix that. So here we have location type.
Well, this is the goal of this thing, isn't it? So wouldn't we just arrive here kind of naturally? Like we'd be, it's like, oh, now we can use the Swifty variables.
Sorry, say that again. Yeah, that's a goal, like to use to make your code Swifty.
Right, using the
coding keys.
Yeah.
But you have to remember to change that name, right? That's what I'm saying. Because if not, then you'll still have that compiler error.
Okay.
All right. Because you could have maybe 10 properties, and the one property you forgot to change the name, right? Like if I have one property here, which I left, I forgot. I'm like, I did it here. It's working here. I know I'm changing it here. But the one property that you did not change here to correspond to the cases is going to throw an error for you.
Okay, so just keep an eye for that when you're working with coding keys. If you see that type of error, all right.
Just go through them and make sure that they're the same, they're consistent. Cool. Any questions about that? All right, let's continue on. So we have created our models. Let me get back my format so we could differentiate easier. So we have our models, we have our JSON. We have our JSON, we have our model. Now let's go do our decoding part of this. So code JSON to Swift objects. And here, let's continue on. So here we'll use our do catch because we know it throws. And we'll say try, well, what are we expecting? We're expecting weather. I'll just say weather array. Try JSON decoder. Dot decode. And for the type, somebody's gonna help me finish the type. Who I haven't heard yet from today. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Carrie. You're on mute. Can you unmute, please, if you can?
Hi.
Hi, how are you? So we're working with JSON decoder here, and now we're about to decode our type. So the question is, what type are we putting in here in the first argument for the function decode? And let me just show you what the struct is. This is our struct here if you just came in. So we are looking for some type here, right? And the type, based on our JSON, what is the top level type based on the JSON structure?
An array.
It's an array, very good. And here we have a city object. So whatever we use in that city object for has to be encapsulated in an array. So here we'll say array of city objects, dot self. Thank you. And we have our weather. We'll just print our error. If we have an error, we'll say decoding error. And here we have some error. So we have our weather array. We'll just go ahead and dump it. Weather array. And to verify what we have our weather array. Top level is an array. So no matter what this is expecting an array, it has to match. So our top level JSON is an array. In that array is an object or objects. right? And those objects are represented by this city object Mr. Eric helped us with. And city object has title, location, type, coordinate. So this is a city, and we have an array of cities. Or we could say weather, depending on what we want to call our struct here. We could simply call this weather if we want. And we'd have an array of weather objects coming in, and this is great. So now we could just go ahead and run our playgrounds and see what we have. So here, if everything went well, we should now have our object being decoded. We have our title, it's New York, location, city, coordinate, 40 minus 74, and the OID is this ID here. Any questions about this?
You scroll up to the object real quick.
Scroll up to the object.
Oh, no, wait,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry. Right here.
Yeah, down to the, yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So if any of those types are not, like if we have this here and we try to run this, like that needs to be, right? We'll have a decoding error, right? Because it can't find that type. It doesn't find location type. It's looking for location type. So be careful with those. And again, it's really, really beneficial to, Swift Playgrounds is great for doing tasks like this, right? You have some JSON data, you want to quickly grab and see, does it parse? Actually, for example, let me actually slack out the endpoint for this. Postman, where are you? I've actually grabbed this from, actually it was one object, it wasn't many objects, so that's okay. This was coming from some weather API, meta weather, location search. Let's see, this one? Yeah, so it's actually just one object, which is very easy. But what I did was just grab this, copy this, and put it into Playgrounds. But if you have a bigger JSON, like our random user JSON, random user, and run this. Like if you have a big JSON blob like this, you could basically just copy. We'll actually do this for the next example, which is coming up now, is it? Let me see, example 3, actually no. Example 3 is not this. Example 3 is heterogeneous objects here and here. So let me slack out this one because we'll go through this together. Because normally you have some JSON that's not just like 10 lines long. So let me slack that out. You don't need an API key for this or anything. I slacked it out. So when everybody has access to it on Postman, let me know. This is gonna be our third example. Confirmation, everybody has it and able to see it in Postman?
Hold on.
Still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, I think I wrote something wrong with the location type.
You have to put it in Postman? Sorry.
I'm coming back to it right now. Yeah, put it in Postman, Luba. Location type.
Hold on. I'm doing the Postman.
And then make sure you updated it as well here.
Does the struct city conform to anything besides codable?
Just codable. I mean, you could just do decodable here. Not a problem.
No, that's not going to change it. I have the locations. I have that.
You have this as well? It's an array of city.
Array of city, that's self, dump weather array.
What's the error? Is it a JSON error?
It says decoding error.
Okay, what does it say in your decoding error?
String value location type int value nil.
Int value nil. Your JSON, actually all your objects is strings, right? We only have one int. Is this an int?
Yeah, that's the only one that's int.
And the coordinate is a string.
Yeah.
Location type is a string.
String, yeah.
Title is a string.
The enum is inside of
The enum is inside, yes.
That helps.
The enum is inside of the struct.
No, they didn't do it. Private enum, coding keys, string. I don't know what it is then.
Share your screen for a second.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, share your screen for a second. That should be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what's going on here. Oh, you have an extra space. You're not long on 33.
Okay.
That'll do it. Because that's also a character.
I'm a little behind because I need to re-download Postman.
Re-download Postman. You quit Postman?
No, you know what happened. You know exactly what happened to me.
All right. yes, I do. You can stop sharing now.
Okay. Thank you.
I do. All right. Share. Cool. Awesome. All right. Let's continue having fun here while Mr. Postman is downloading on Christian's computer. Everybody else was able to get the Postman JSON, correct? Yes?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so let's create our third and final playground for today. Actually, let's create our third playgrounds page for today. So new page, this one is gonna be called Parsing Multiple Keys. I could make this longer. It's okay. Multiple keys is fine. Okay, parsing multiple keys. And what are we gonna do? Let's import foundation, and let's go get our JSON. Let's set up our string for our incoming JSON. So let's just get our JSON now. So let's go to Postman. And let's get some JSON here. In the example, we had 2 objects, but here, let's try to get 3 objects. So start from line 1. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Start from line 1, and let's select 3 objects. So stop on afternoon delight, and stop on right on line 88. We all should have the same lines. So stop on line 88. Stop on line 88, copy, and now we're gonna navigate to our browser of choice, and we'll go to JSON lint. So jsonlint.com, paste the JSON in. If you validate it, it's invalid because it's missing, what's it missing? It's missing, I think, 2 brackets, or is it 1? Forgot. 1 bracket. Just put 1 extra bracket and it should be validated. Everybody confirm that?
Yep.
Confirmed.
Very good. So now we could just copy this. We know it's valid JSON, because you don't know what if invalid JSON, right?
Brackets.
What's that? Just 1 bracket. 1 extra bracket at the bottom. And make sure there's no comma here. I think it's gonna fail if there's a comma. Yeah, it's gonna fail if there's a comma, so make sure there's no comma. So that's valid JSON, copy it, and let's go back to our playgrounds and paste it in our multiliteral string. And here we have 3 objects, okay? And this is one of the rare APIs you'll come across. Again, this is not the best API, but if it comes at some point, you have to parse it. So here we'll have, the top level is a dictionary, but in that dictionary, we have a string and we have an object. So the object will start off by saying the object is a strain, it has an ID, it has a race, it has flavors. What data type is flavors?
All right.
Can you actually send that on Slack, Alex?
Why? You don't have Postman?
I do, but I think you guys, I think I can't, it's not loading for me.
Okay. You're
we
exempt.
might have crashed the thing.
You crashed Postman? You crashed the web API?
Yeah,
It's down, really?
it looks like it.
Christian is trying to beat me to it. Did he beat me to it? Ah, Christian beat me to it. Let me delete mine. Christian! Show off. All right. All right, cool. So you should have that now, Mr. Oscar.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
That's Mr. Christian there. All right, so let's continue on. So we have our JSON. Let's go down and construct some models. So models. And we'll start off by creating, what is the top level of this thing? We'll create, let's call it a results wrapper again. Actually, not results wrapper, let's call it a strain. A strain conforms to decodable. And let's start off by getting some properties. We'll have an ID. What's ID's type? Let me see somebody that I didn't hear yet from. 1 second. Don't say anything. Wait for it. Julia, are you with us? Can't hear anything. Hello? Okay. Okay. No, Julia. Marsh yet?
Yeah.
What is the data type of ID?
Hold on, sorry. It's an int.
Int, very good. Awesome, thank you. So we have ID, we have race, and we said flavors. Flavors is an array of what? What's flavors? An array of what? Anybody?
Strings.
An array of string. Right? And what else we need for now?
Effects.
Effects. What's effects? Effects is funny.
I think it's a dictionary.
It's a dictionary. Okay.
String array.
String array. Very good, sir. String array. Array of what?
Strings.
What's that?
Array of strings.
Array of strings. Very good. All right. That's a funny one. If we look at it again, let me get to it. So we have ID is an integer, race is a string, flavors is an array. Flavors is an array of strings. Effects is a dictionary. If we see the curly bracket here, it denotes it's a dictionary. It's a dictionary where the key is a string, positive, and the value is an array of strings. Thank God it's not an array of anything. That would be even more. Can you imagine array of strings, array of ints, array of... Oh, wait. Hello? It's too early for this. No Modelos yet until 5 p.m. So we have we have effects so it's a dictionary where the key is a string and the value is an array of strings. Very good. Awesome. Everybody sees that? Yeah?
Yes.
All right, cool. So let's continue on. So this is enough for now. I think that's all actually. Yeah, that covers that. So let's continue on. So we have our models. Next, let's go ahead and decode JSON to Swift objects.
Alex, there's a question in the chat.
There's a question in the chat. The chat.
Yes, this is my.
What are you saying? Hello? I was trying to ask, is that the equivalent to making multiple structs? What with the effects, you mean? I mean, you can, but let's see. I mean, you can make a multiple struct here, but effects you don't really need to because it's a native type string. If it itself had other objects, like if string was not a string but a next object, I would make a next struct out of it. But since it's just a string mapping to an array of strings, there's no need to create a next struct. I think that's the question. Tiffany's asking. Yes, sir. She says, yes, sir. Okay, awesome. Very good, Tiffany. Anyone notice something funny about the JSON data? That's Cassandra.
The minute I saw sativa, I was like, how is that? And then I
the what?
the race of the African string. Then I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is this about?
We're just decoding JSON here.
Huh.
All right, let's continue. We good? Can we continue?
Yay.
Okay, awesome. So let's continue on. We have our do catch. And we have, let's call this dictionary. And we have our try JSON decoder. Bob Marley's API. What's happening there, Christian, with Bob Marley's API? Okay, what is the type? We reviewed it earlier. Well, this is not data, this is JSON. What is the type here? What type are we putting here? Somebody took a screenshot from the lesson earlier. What is the type?
It's a dictionary.
It's a dictionary. What? It's a dictionary, but what are we putting in there? Give me the syntax.
String dot self.
String.
Oh yeah, string colon strain.
Strain. Very good. Dot self. Very good. Thank you. Awesome. And to review what Cassandra was saying here, so our top level object, this is what it looks like. It's a dictionary where the key, where the key is a string and the value is our object string. Everybody sees that?
I do now.
Does everybody see that?
Yes.
All right. Because if it was like if this was just one key, if this was just one key called results, right, that would be okay. I just say results, I get whatever the object is. But it's not, it's multiple keys. So it's multiple keys, we represent it this way. We have the key is a string, and we have the value is a string. So now we have a dictionary of those objects. So we have to go further, and we could use a for loop. To create strain, well, to create strain array. Or you could use map. All right, so we'll keep this simple for now. We'll just say for, well, before that, I need to create some variable array. I'll call it strains. Is an array of strains. And we'll use a follow-up. We'll say for, what am I gonna do here? For key value, do I need the key? I don't need the key, but in your challenge, you might need the key. So here, value in dictionary. And if we see our dictionary type, it's a string, where the key is the string. We don't care about the string for now, but if you do care about the string, like for example, I could very simply say, actually we'll come back and do it first. But for now, we're gonna ignore the key, and I could come down here and now construct the strain equal to strain, my strain initializer. It takes in an ID I'm gonna get the ID. Where am I gonna get the ID from?
The value.
The value, very good. So value.id, then also for the race.race, and same for flavors, same for effects. Thank you, Greg. And just to format my code, I'll just put some new lines after each property so it reads well, like this. And now I have my strain, and I'll simply just append strains, new strain here. And when I'm all done, if this was like a function, I would just have like my completion handler here capturing my array. But for now, we'll just like dump the results and dump strains here, like that. At this point, we should have no warnings, no errors. I'll let people type before I run the code. And I'll leave space for any questions when they have. So again, highly recommend isolate your JSON when you test in JSON, as opposed to like setting up your whole UI first. And you could use Swift Playgrounds, or you could use a unit test to verify your JSON before you go ahead and set up every UI you need to do. All right, so now we could go ahead and run our playgrounds and see what we have. And just like that, we have elements. We have our 3 elements because that's what we took. And we have ID 1. We have every property, every object on it. Does everybody have that as well in the console? A dump of all the data?
Yeah.
All right, very good. So this becomes our 3rd handy tool for parsing JSON. So we just reviewed dictionary, a simple dictionary object. We reviewed array, and we just reviewed multiple keys, where you have every object has a different key, right? So the first one was we reviewed how to parse a dictionary where we only have 1 key. Great, no problem. We just look for that key and we're done. We have an array where we have the top level here is an array of things. Here we had city. And lastly, we have a dictionary where you have multiple keys appearing, right? Any questions before we conclude lecture?
I have a question, Alex.
Yes.
Oh, can you explain why we needed the exclamation point after the .utf?
Because it's an optional. If you don't unwrap it here, you have to unwrap it later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there could be nothing in the multilevel string you're trying to convert to data.
Where would you unwrap it if you didn't unwrap it in the beginning?
Let's see. So if you don't unwrap it here, it's going to throw us an error somewhere. Here,
okay.
It's going to say our JSON here is optional. Right? You see the data here is optional?
Yeah.
So I'm not in a function, so I can't write a guard statement here, but you'd have to unwrap it somewhere before you try to use that object here.
Okay.
Cool?
Yep. Thanks.
Right. It's very similar to in our URL session. Data is also optional, remember?
Yeah.
In our closure, we have data, we have response, and we have, what's the last one?
Error.
Error. Very good. All those are optional. So you have to unwrap those, right? Yes, sir?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Good. So going back up here, just do this, and we are good. Any other questions about the structures we saw? I will Slack out, I'll update the lesson and I'll Slack it out. So next time we continue tomorrow, we'll just have the lesson guide to use along the way. But ideally, what I want us to have is a cheat sheet. We love cheat sheets. I love cheat sheets. Ideally, I want to have a cheat sheet here, which I created, so that we could just jump to this and see, am I working with a dictionary? This is what I'm looking at. If I'm working with an array, this is very similar to what we just did, but on one page. If I'm working with an array, this is what I'm looking at. If I'm working with multiple keys, this is what I'm looking at, right? This over here, I use map. If I'm working with a heterogeneous object, which we'll do tomorrow, this is what I'm looking at, okay? So I'll actually just give you guys that resource tomorrow. But we've been pushing to GitHub. Actually, let's push one more time before we conclude the lesson. I want to really get us in the habit of pushing our code. So let's just do a get status here. We have a lot of things we did. Get add everything, get commit, completed, parsing multiple keys, completed parsing array, structure, and multiple keys. And push. And I want to verify that we have all our work on GitHub. Go to GitHub, go to my root level project, go to pages. We should have 3 pages right now. The first page we worked on was the dictionary. We go to contents, we have our dictionary. The second one we worked on was array. We go to array contents, we have our array. And, oops, sorry. And the last one we worked on was the multiple keys. We click on it, and here we have multiple keys. Cool? So what you could do to spice up your GitHub, you could write notes here, exactly what we did, like write notes about what you did. That way it's still fresh, and you could write notes for your own self. Because remember, well, remember yourself like 1 month from now might not exactly remember all the steps, but if you write a good README here as to like what you need to get to, that would be awesome. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
All right, cool, awesome. Thank you. It's right.